Hey, special educators. Welcome to Teach, Taskbox, Inspire, the podcast dedicated to making your job as a special education teacher easier by making your instruction more fun for you and your students. Inside each episode, you'll learn how to get the most use out of your task boxes in the classroom. I'm your host, Lisa Holiday from Chalkboard Superhero, a veteran special education teacher passionate about empowering you with purposeful teaching strategies, helpful tips and tricks, and other classroom management tools that will help you thrive in your role. Let's get started with today's episode. Hey there, special educators, and welcome back to another episode of Teach, Taskbox, Inspire. I'm your host, Lisa Holiday, and today I just want to start this episode off with a deep breath. Inhale and exhale. Because if you're listening in real time, we're smack in the middle of May, and let's be honest, May in the world of special education, it's basically the Super Bowl of exhaustion, right? This is the time of year when your IEP calendar is still full, your classroom is a mess of broken crayons or half-used glue sticks, the kids are either super clingy or totally over it, and you've probably asked yourself at least once, is it summer yet? You're not alone, I promise. Today, I want to wrap you in a giant virtual hug and give you something even better than a coffee IV drip. Though, let's be real, that sounds amazing. Psych, I'm just kidding. I love Coke Zero, so let's go with an IV drip for Coke Zero. So today I want to share my top sanity-saving tips for surviving May as a special education teacher, and maybe even ending the year feeling proud instead of just wiped. Let's start with the real talk. First, can we all just agree that May is freaking hard? People outside of education think we're coasting to the finish line, but inside the building, it's chaos. Absolutely crazy. Schedules change every 5 minutes, field trips, assemblies, state testing, random freaking half days. It's like trying to teach in the middle of a freaking circus. Oh my gosh, I have a lot of F-bombs right now because it's a tired circus. And if you didn't know, I was on grand jury duty for the last 6 weeks, which means I was in and out of the classroom between 2 and 3 times a week, going down to the courthouse downtown, which has made my April and May absolutely a nightmare. And for our students, especially those with disabilities, this unpredictability is super tough. It shows up in behavior spikes or refusals, and even regressions in skills that we've worked all year on. And that's on top of all the IEP meetings, the data collection, and those dreaded progress reports. So if you're feeling frazzled, overwhelmed, or like you're just barely keeping your head above water, yep, you're doing May right. I have a few tips that I kind of want to help you get through May. And if you're still in school in June, then June too, like me. So tip number 1, create a lightning learning plan. So let's start here. I want you to give yourself permission to lighten the load. This is the time of year when my task boxes become the real MVPs of the classroom. If you've been saving them, now is the time to roll them out hard. I create independent work rotations using previously taught concepts or errorless learning activities, and even some review and reflect themed task boxes. And yes, it's still learning. If students are practicing skills independently, staying engaged, and not melting down, that's a freaking win. Pro tip. I want you to try to pair task boxes with simple data collection checklists so that you can still track progress without overwhelming yourself or even your paraprofessionals. All right, tip number 2, break up the pack up. Packing up the classroom is a whole thing in May, right? And somehow it always lands on your plate when the energy is at its lowest. Instead of waiting until, the last 2 days, I break up the packing into bite-sized 10-minute tasks. I kind of make a list and hand off some of the jobs to my paraprofessionals. This year, it's not like that because I only have one para and my room we don't have a ton of stuff in my classroom. But in the past, especially in my self-contained settings, this is kind of what I did. So I would give things like sort the manipulatives and toss the broken ones, or label these bins for next year, or take down all the old visuals but save the ones we reuse. A lot of different organization type activities I'll give to them or myself. It does sound simple, but the goal is progress, not perfection. Even if you're not returning to the same classroom, pack in a way that the future you, that September or whenever you go back to school, most of my listeners go back in August, but that August you is going to love you because, when my brain is still on summer break, I'm not thinking about what my classroom is going to look like when I return. All right, tip number 3, support your students through the transitions. Behavior in May. Whew, it is so real because the sun comes out and everyone's getting a little antsy and the weather's turning nicer and spring it's just one of those things where you're just holding on for your dear life at this point. I always say that when students know a change is coming, but they don't understand what it means, it creates this kind of swirl of anxiety, excitement, and chaos. So what do? Visual countdowns, social stories, simple routines, lots of reassurance. Even older students benefit from knowing how many days are left before school ends, or what is changing, or what is the summer going to look like for them? Do they go to summer school or ESY? Giving them these types of things really reduces their anxiety about what they might not know what's coming next. All right, so you really don't need anything fancy. Just a visual calendar with maybe daily checkoffs or maybe a whiteboard that says blank days left of school. And you can talk about it every day so they know what's coming. Now, I know some of you are on the opposite end of the spectrum where you're like, oh no, we don't want to count down the days left of school because some students don't want to go home. They don't have a great home life and they don't want to know how many days are left before they have to spend the whole summer in somewhere they don't like. Just be mindful of those specific students. For my current class, we don't have students in my classroom like that currently, so it's not something I typically worry about unless I know the situation is truly bad at home, and then I'll leave that off the wall. And sometimes I don't even display it. I'll just give it to some students who are really struggling with transition. And hey, don't be afraid to build in some flexibility. That kid who's been rocking it for months might suddenly need breaks every 15 minutes again instead of every 30. It's really not a step back. It's a response to stress, and you've got this. Tip number 4, keep reflection simple and sweet. You might see all these Pinterest-worthy end-of-the-year memory books and think, there is no way I got time for that. Same, which is why I go low prep and high impact. Here are 3 quick ideas. Number 1, I learned blank, 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 right? Sentence stems with some Velcro or picture choices. Or maybe it's just a simple favorite memory drawing. Or maybe the class awards are best joke teller or most improved at cleaning up the crayons. Or whatever it is, just know that you don't have to have everything pretty at the end because you don't want to make more work for yourself than you actually have to. One year, we created a wall of wins where students added one thing that they were proud of. It was super fun, it was low pressure, and it was a great way to celebrate progress. All right, last tip. Protect your energy. This one's for you, my teacher friends. So I know your instinct is to keep pushing, to keep saying yes, to stay late because it's almost over. But I need you to hear this. You are not the glue that holds it all together. You are a human being who absolutely deserves rest. I want you to block off one day this week where you leave as close to the contract time as possible. Put your feet up when you get home, drink your favorite drink, watch your favorite show, read your favorite book. Whatever it is, do that for 10 to 20 minutes. And if you're a parent too, or balancing multiple jobs or obligations, try to carve out even a tiny sliver of time that's just for you. You've been running hard since, August or September. You're allowed to slow down and take it all in. I know a lot of times when I pull into my driveway, I'm like, okay, I'm a parent of 3 young kids right now, and I know it's going to be full on hard when I get home. So sometimes I just take that 10 minutes in my driveway before I even walk through the door. It's my time where I can just kind of breathe. All right, so a quick pep talk before we go. So here's what I want you to know as we wrap up. Yes, May is chaotic. Yes, your to-do list feels impossible. Yes, behaviors are flaring and the glue sticks are dry and someone probably just sneezed on your last visual schedule. But you're doing it. You're showing up. You're holding space for students who need consistency and care. Even when you're running on caffeine and instinct, you're making it to the finish line and you're doing it with heart. You are the teacher those students will remember, not because of the perfect end of the year party or Pinterest-worthy classroom, but because you made them feel safe and seen, even in the messy middle of May. All right, guys, thanks so much for spending a little time with me today. If this episode gave you a little boost, will you do me a favor? Please share it with a colleague who's also trying to survive May. We're stronger when we lift each other up. And until next time, guys, bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Teach, Taskbox, Inspire. I hope you've gained some tips and motivation to fuel your week ahead. If you're ready to explore more strategies for empowering your students as independent learners, be sure to dive into my free training at chalkboardsuperhero.com/training. And don't keep all this knowledge to yourself. Share this episode with your special education teacher friends who could use some motivation and inspiration. One more thing before you go. If you're finding this podcast helpful and want to show support, head to Apple Podcasts and leave your rating and review. Until next time, keep teaching, taskboxing, and inspiring.